I think about what Megan said on Monday, how knowledge can be powerful if we apply it. But it can't just be our knowledge we rely on. It has to be the knowledge given to us from the Lord. So, here's a question that I had when I was studying this verse. Is God telling us not to plan for our future at all? No. In fact, a life without a plan is a life without a goal. There are a lot of times that Christians separate their spiritual life from their earthly daily life, which the book of James actually speaks directly against. This includes abandoning school, family, and friends so you can focus on your spiritual life. Likewise, this is also an example of abandoning your spiritual life so you can focus more on school, family, and friends. But when we look to Scripture, there is no separation between the two, our worldly life or our spiritual life. They go together hand in hand. James talks about how these merchants' plans and desires, which would be considered their worldly lives, were important for making a profit. Oh, sorry guys. How profitable is a life without God's guidance, though? This verse is actually telling us to prepare and make plans, but instead of doing it by our own will, look to God for guidance. To back this up, let me read this verse. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. It is the Lord Christ we're serving here on earth, and there should be no separation between our worldly life and our spiritual life. The Lord is just asking us to come to Him for guidance in our plans. Anytime that you make a plan and it neglects God, it is in vain. It does not matter if your plan has a good objective. John 15:5 says, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain joined to me and I to you, you will bear a lot of fruit. You can't do anything without me. We cannot do anything if we are apart from God. In the beginning of James, the men relied on God very much. But when their life started to be filled with success and riches, they strayed away from the Lord. Their mindset had changed from how can I serve the Lord to how can I gain more for myself. And when they occasionally prayed to the Lord, it was more for His blessing over their plans instead of His actual guidance. Sadly, we can relate to this passage. Look at our generation. How many of us are actually seeking God for the guidance that we need? And outwardly, it may look like somebody is a perfect Christian. They read the Bible, they go to church, they pray. Everything looks spot on, except they don't rely on God to read their life, and that is where we find the biggest error. I know what you guys are thinking. Okay, Caroline, that's literally so easy. I can go ask for guidance later in my life, when I actually need it. Now let me ask you a question. How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like the morning fog. It's here a little while, and then it's gone. James uses a simile that compares human life to the morning fog. The fog is there for a bit, and then it's gone. Is our life really that different? Unpredictable, uncertain, limited. Our life is absolutely temporary. Nothing is promised. So why would we choose to neglect God if nothing is promised? Doesn't God know the future? I mean, something crazy could happen to us, or a family member, or the world, like a pandemic. But this uncertainty of life is not a cause for fright or inaction. It is so we can recognize our complete dependence on the Lord. He knows the fault in His own plans and the safety in His guidance. So should we. There are some people who won't live past high school, or their 30s, or their 40s. So if you wait to get in touch with God's will, you could be wasting valuable time. Jeremiah 17:5 says, Cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength, whose heart turns away from the Lord. So if you're living day by day saying, God, I appreciate the help, but I don't need you right now, you're living in denial. Because tomorrow is not guaranteed, and I don't know about you, but I want to live God's plan for my life because He knows what will work out and what won't. Not only that, but we have restrictions as humans. There are things that we physically cannot do without God in our lives, just as John 15:5 says we can do nothing if we are apart from the Lord. The solution to this problem is relying on God to lead us through, especially during hard times. Learning to proceed towards our plans with God's instruction in mind is a great way to start.